Hello and welcome to Sweet Spot DFS. This is a preview for the 2020 Sony Open. You might be looking at the thumbnail and go, wasn't that the picture you used last week? Yes, it was, because Justin Thomas is yet again my favorite player this week. I think he's got a really good chance to win it. I'm going to change the show. Actually, first of all, sorry this is coming out so late. I didn't really get much chance to work on this the last couple days. I did work on it, but didn't really have a lot of time. So it's coming out late. Hopefully this is getting to you guys early enough where you can look at it, make a couple tweaks to your lineups. If you haven't started lineups yet, hopefully this will give you a good guide to actually, make some decent lineups. I'm going to change things up a bit with how I'm doing this. I'm going to show you an index. This is what we're going to go over. We're going to go over course information. We're going to go over course history, recent form, swing stats, grass stats. And at the end, the bucket system I usually go over, the tee times I go over, all that stuff will be in the lineup construction. So if you guys are interested in the lineup construction, you guys can just swing right to the end where I will use every bit of information that you see above and put that towards the lineup construction. But I wanted to kind of make this quicker for those that don't so much care for that information and just want to know kind of the raw stats prior to going into my subjective analysis, basically. So I figured I'll show you an index, and I can always come back to this index just to at least maybe keep me in check or get you guys more comfortable with what I'm doing. So anyways, we'll go right to the course information. We are in Honolulu, Hawaii at the Waialae Country Club. This tournament has been going on forever. If any of you guys played Nintendo 64 back in the day, this was your only golf game you could play, the Waialae. Oh, I forget what the last part of it. It was probably just Waialae Country Club. Either way, I thought that was a fun little ad. But it's a par 70, 7,000 yards. It'll play below and above it. There's only 2 par 5s on this golf course, and it's a par 70. So the par 70, I think we're going to be able to get that bonus in DraftKings pretty easy, the sub 70 bonus. If anything, if you're constructing lineups, maybe try to find steady scores, maybe not so much volatility, because I bet you those bonus points are going to matter. The winner, it's a fairly low score, but it's not as low as one would think. And this week is actually, they're calling in for a bit more wind than usual. So that's something to look into. I mean, we could look at swing, shots gained, wind, that kind of thing. I didn't do that prior to making the video, so I'm not going to really talk much about it. But to continue on here, we have grass type, which is Bermuda. Same Bermuda grass as we just had at the Tournament of Champions tournament. So it's going to be relatively the same. And the designer of the golf course, Seth Rayner, I know nothing about him. I haven't heard of any other golf course that he has designed. So I don't think it's very relevant. But again, per usual, I just like adding that. So we'll go ahead, get into the course history, which I already have filtered here of the golfers golfing this week. And we have the averages here. I'm not going to go over everyone, but I do just want to go through a few of these. So Matt Kuchar, far and above your favorite golfer for course history this week. He won it last year. Didn't play it in 2018, 2017, but then a 13th, a 3rd, an 8th, and a 5th. This is kind of his course. He's the course horse, I should say. We have that followed by Sebastian Munoz, who only played it last year for the first time, and I'm getting 10th. He is a favorite golfer of mine. Webb Simpson, who is going to be a favorite golfer of many people in the industry, and very rightfully so. As we will get through this video, you'll see why. Very good course history. Got a string of 13th places, a 20th place, a 4th place in 2018. Didn't play it last year, but very good course history. He's a very good Bermuda golfer, so that is, a bunch of things going right for him. Charles Howell III has played this the last 7 years. and his worst finish is 32nd. So he's made the cut every single year that I've done, that I have stats going recorded for. Like I said, 32nd is his worst. Third is his best. He's got a bunch of 8th place finishes. When we get to the lineup construction, we'll talk more about it. I'm not sure I feel confident playing him for his price point, but it's a possibility. You know, kind of that steady Eddie, making more of a conservative lineup. It like a cash lineup, he'd be a good play. Sungjae is next in line. He only played it for the first time last year. That was he got a 16th place. Keith Mitchell right behind him, Corey Connors, and then Mark Leishman has also played it all 7 years, leading back to 2013. And 47th is his worst place. 37th is the next, and his best place is best finish is 3rd. So I'm not sure how I feel about playing Mark Leishman, especially for his price point, but there's a little bit of the lineup construction that I want to go over that maybe will get you guys on Mark Leishman. He is playing in a group that is going to follow so many trends that look promising. So I wanted to mention that because we will look at it later. He's not a bad play. We have JT down here with a missed cut. If we get rid of the missed cut, he is second best course history. So I don't know what happened in 2016. I'm not too concerned. I like Justin Thomas this week. If you watched the video last week, I had said he's my favorite player this year. He's going to do spectacular things. He might be a little fatigued from the playoff, but he only played 3 extra holes. Now, they were a bit dramatic. They were, you know, a bit of a grind, but I think for as young as he is, he's going to be just fine. The only thing I worry about is a couple of his missed shots on hole 18, how that might play to his psyche going forward, at least for this tournament. I'm not sure. I just don't know what's gonna go on in his mind. If he's gonna hold on to it, it's probably best to fade him, but I think he's gonna do just fine. And that's all I'm gonna talk about course history. I don't really want to go into it too much more than that. Let's go ahead and get into the recent form. Now, this is the second tournament of the year. It's usually the second tournament of every PGA season new year. 2013 and I know for sure just 2013, the Tournament of Champions actually started the PGA season. Can't remember if 2014 had the swing tournaments in there. You know, the tournaments between like October and December. If anything, 2015 and on, this tournament would not have been the second tournament. This would have been probably the 7th or 8th tournament. But it was definitely always the second tournament of the new year. And there's always a gap between the first tournament of the new year and the tournament prior to it. So really there isn't recent form. I show recent form, but really all we have is this last week column, the Tournament of Champions. That's really the only recent form that we have. So I want to mention that because there is recent form technically, but it is just within the last week. And if we go through this, I'm sure you guys have heard this through the industry. Like, I've heard it from every single person that I've listened to, and I shouldn't say reached out. I looked for new people to listen to just to see what their take was. Everyone is saying this. The winner has played the week before. And as you can see, like Matt Kuchar didn't have the greatest of finishes in the Tournament Champions leading into this tournament. But he did play. And as we go through this, you're going to see that 2018, 2017, 2016, 2015, 2014, they all played. And the average, like the finishing positions of the week before for the champion of the Sony Open, it varies. Like 21st, 2nd, 6th, first for Justin Thomas. So he's done it before. He's won back-to-back from Tournament Champions to Sony. So he can do it again. Patton Kizzire was 15th, and Matt Kuchar 19th. So it doesn't really matter, and we do have a few people that have came over from the Tournament Champions to play in this one. One other thing I like to look at is you can see the optimal lineup in the $1 GPP. I like to look at the what the salary is, like 47,300 last year. That's pretty nuts. 50,000 was the $1 GPP. Scored 677 points. That's pretty darn good. That is a very high score total. So, who was it? It's all these golfers here marked in blue. So they anchored it with Justin Thomas and then went down to the 8K range, picked up Matt Kuchar, Brad Snedeker, and then went down to the 7K range, and Keith Mitchell kind of rounds it out at 6,900. So, definitely can get there with 50,000. I'm sorry I don't have the score for the optimal lineup. I know I have some points that are put in here, but I'm not positive what everyone scored. I could actually go back and look at the PGA website and calculate the points. It's what I usually do if I can't find anyone on DK, like during the review video. So maybe I'll do that some other time for another video, but not for this one. Anyways, 47,300. That's leaving 2,700 on the table. That's significant. So don't be afraid to leave money on the table for this one. But you also don't have to, because 50,000 won the $1 GPP last year. So just wanted to keep that out there for you. Optimal lineup for this year was an exact 50,000. Thought that was pretty interesting. It wasn't the top price guy. Justin Thomas was not within it. Brian Harmon at 10.6 was. So I think there's a bunch of ways we can make lineups, and definitely gonna explore that in the lineup construction page. Let's go ahead and get into the grass stats. I believe was the first thing that I had on that list. If anything, we can always go back, right? What was it? Recent form. We're going to go into swing stats and then grass stats. Okay. So let's go ahead. Oh yeah, let's leave the people that are out, the people that withdrew. Let's go ahead and hide this information. And hide this information. Okay, so now we just have the swing stats up. I did something interesting this week that I have not done yet in any of my other videos. I kind of made a player sheet, and what I did was I went ahead, sorted this, got rid of the blanks because I do not want to see those, and basically took the top 10 golfers, depending on how many rounds of golf they played. But I took the top 10, so all the way down to Corey Connors, and I pasted them into the spreadsheet over here, or a spreadsheet named Player Sheet. So what this does, as you can see, all those golfers that I had highlighted right here show up on this player sheet. And what I wanted to do was basically, oh boy, I just want to delete this because I don't like it. What I did is I just made a whole, table of players basically, and they can show up multiple times. Kuchar's in there a bunch of times. What I wanted to do was make a count over here. How many times do they show up in the top 10 of stats? And Webb Simpson is at the top. And this is what I was saying during the course history part of the show. Webb Simpson is in a bunch of these stats. He looks to be a solid play. I think it's worth playing him. And definitely he falls under the buckets that I'll go over later as well, where you'd want him in a lineup. JT is right after him, one of my favorite plays. He is tied with Matsuyama for 8 times being within these stats over here. And we can go through the stats a little bit more so you guys can just see it as opposed to just taking my word for it. Sung Jae is in 4th, which I really like. Patrick Reed is right behind him with 5 top 10 stat finishes. I guess that might be the best way to put it. But anyways, we'll go through more of this as we do the lineup construction. But I did want to show you Simpson, Thomas, Matsuyama. They're far and above any other golfer here. You could put Sung Jae Im and Patrick Reed within that and just leave it to those 5. I don't think you can really make a lineup with those 5. They're a bit too expensive. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to. But it's a good way to anchor your lineups, and maybe that's how we will anchor our lineups is grabbing these guys that have, you know, a bunch of top 10 stat finishes, or the stats that I go through. So if we go back to the DK page again, T to green, I go by the rounds over here. So this little section, rounds and every stat to the left, go hand in hand. Go hand in hand. So you have Justin Thomas at the top of the T to green. That's no surprise to me. He has just been phenomenal. I don't need to keep talking him up. You guys already know it. Justin Thomas, my favorite play for sure. It's interesting to see Grillo here with Simpson. I really like Ryan Armour this week. Scott Harrington is kind of a new golfer. I think he graduated from the web.com tour. Sorry, the Corn Ferry tour last year. So him at 6,400, I think that's a pretty good play. And he is a 2-1, which we'll get into that. You do want a 2-1 on your lineup. So, you know, Scott Harrington, you could substitute, you know, you go JT, Scott Harrington, or Webb, and then another 1-2, you know, basically. We'll get through into the lineup construction. Let's just keep going through these swing stats here. And again, I call them swing stats because these are stats that rely on your golf swing, basically. You can't get tee to green without a golf swing. I know you can't get a course history or recent form without golf swings, but that's not really a measurement of, like, that's a measurement of the whole. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to put that in its own category. You know, course history, recent form in its own category, grass stats in their own category, and swing stats in their own category. Go ahead. If you want to say they all apply to one, hey, I'm not gonna argue against you, but I don't see it that way. All right, off the tee stats. I don't think it's that important this week, but you know, Corey Connor shows up, Harrington shows up, Sungjae Im, Sebastian Munoz. You know, these aren't the top 10 that I would have in the next or in the player sheet spreadsheet. So I'm not gonna really put a lot of weight into that category, but approach I am. I do like approach, and you've got Simpson, Justin Thomas, Kyle Stanley, Matt Every. I do like Matt Every this week. I do, again, Ryan Armour I like. So tee to green plus approach. Armour looks good. Pair him up with someone that he's going to be playing with, which we'll get to a little bit later. Yeah, Morikawa shows up. I like that. And again, Corey Connors. So Corey Connors is just looking really good so far when it comes to off the tee. Basically from tee to green, but then, well, obviously. But then when it comes to putting, not the greatest. Has a good chance. I mean, he did really well last year at this tournament. Let's go ahead and talk about around the green. We have Keegan Bradley at the top, followed by Alex Noren, Brandt Snedeker, which I really like, Carlos Ortiz I also like, Patrick Reed, who had a phenomenal up and down week last week with his putter and his chipping. I'm not sure if that's going to translate to this week, especially with kind of the drama that's going over him, but his stats show out that he's pretty decent. As you can see, he's going to be at the top of your putting stats. Well, Andrew Putnam is. Putnam is well known for being a good putter. And then there's Patrick Reed. Pat Perez I like. I believe he's won this tournament before, or he's done really well at this tournament. Cam Smith I like as a play. We have Sungjae and Webb right there. I like Munoz, and I'm gonna go ahead and mark. I'm gonna mark these guys because I do like them. So yeah, that's or I should say, those are the swing stats, like the good chunk of swing stats. I'm gonna go ahead, select all for this. We're gonna go to green and reg, talk about that for a little bit. So your top is Webb Simpson for green and reg. He's played 144 holes. That is what. That's the measurement of his 80%. It is on the low end, as you can see. It's this dark red color. It is 80th and below in the field. I don't know exactly what his place is, and I'm not gonna worry about it. I just want you guys to know that it is at the bottom. It is below the median point. But he's green and reg, proximity, and birdie or better off the charts. The only issue he has is off the tee, which here really doesn't really matter. So Webb Simpson, again, a pretty decent play, at least to consider. After Simpson, we have Emiliano Grillo, Justin Thomas, Hideki Matsuyama, Henrik Norlander, which probably some of you guys don't know. He's a decent player. Definitely kind of a very good low-tier player. At least that's how he's kind of been throughout most of the history that I've played him. He's a pretty good, I mean, he can pour it on. And you got Corey Connors, Kyle Stanley, Chesson Hadley. I do like Hadley this week as well. He also kind of follows the Webb Simpson train. He just doesn't have the, that great of birdie or better. In fact, Matsuyama is the closest behind Webb Simpson, and really, again, or I should say, both of them don't really have that many holes under their belt. Like, just think of this: 324 is your 60 to 80 range. So Matsuyama falls somewhere between the 60th and 80th golfer in this field for number of holes. So there are a bunch of golfers who have golfed more holes, and their stats will be reflective of of that. So they're obviously going to have a bit more opportunity to make these numbers lower. During the end of the season, this 80% will get closer to 60%. I can't remember what the end of the year ended up, like the highest guy for green and reg percentage, but it was, I don't remember it being in the 80s. Could have been in the 70s, but I don't think it was like high 70s, maybe mid, maybe low. But yeah, over time, that number will get less. So the golfers that have more holes, like 432, definitely the highest in this area, and 76%, that's pretty good. I don't know if it's really that necessary that you need to really hit the greens. Obviously, to score you do, but as you can see, like his green and reg and his birdie or better, there are stark differences. And that's what you should look at with these stats is, Webb Simpson looks amazing. I mean, I don't know. I think the last time he played was the RSM Classic, which would have been 8 weeks ago. It's quite a long time. Actually, I think he played in the President's Cup. Yeah, he did play in the President's Cup. So, but I don't have stats for that. I don't know exactly how he played. But stats look good. JT, this right here, this proximity, the fact that he's hitting 77% of greens and making birdies is a testament of his ability basically to hit the green wherever he's hitting it off the tee. The proximity, 36 feet 9 inches, that's not really good. Obviously, you can see the dark red, but his 29% birdie percentage is amazing. I'm not sure if that proximity, I'm sure it takes into like getting it on the green under regulation, which means hitting the green in 2 on a par 5 or driving the green in 1 on a par 4. Those, I mean, that's a possibility. So I really like that. This doesn't discourage me. Like, this proximity doesn't discourage me with this combination of green and reg and birdie or better. So definitely take that into account when you're doing this. We can look at proximity. I don't think proximity is really that much, I think it's not much that I care about. I do like seeing some of this information though, like looking for green and reg percentage to go with birdie or better, as well as proximity. So like if we take someone kind of in the middle, so DJ Trahan, 72%, that's a good clip. In this field, it's not, top 20, but it's between 20 and 40. That's pretty good. So DJ Trahan, not a bad play to consider, at least. 25% birdie or better, 81 birdies total. That's pretty low. If anything, if we wanted to look at the total amount of birdies and try to find a player that we like Lonto Griffin, that is amazing. 153 birdies, 25% birdie clip. He's making a lot of birdies. Look at how many holes he's played. Definitely in the top 20 of holes played. He might even have the most holes played. So that would explain why he has much more birdies. But the fact is, he's hitting a high clip. He is in the top 20 of birdie or better percentage. So that's something good to think about. And just like JT, his proximity, not the greatest. But, it's pretty impressive. And in fact, all these guys in green. So if we highlight them, these guys, to me, all worth shots. Sung Jae even as well. You know, having this many birdies with that birdie percentage just says they score. They score really well. Your best value play is going to be Xinjun Zhang, which $6,700. He's a 2-1, which we'll get into again with the lineup construction coming up. But yeah, think of these golfers: Lanto Griffin, Sebastian Munoz, Xinjun Zhang, Brian Gay, JT Poston, Sung Jae-im. I think it's worth playing all of them, honestly. I especially when this is basically a score fest. Definitely want to consider playing any of those golfers. Let's go ahead and now talk about the grass stats. That's the next in line that I want to talk about. We'll go ahead and hide all this information. Now, what I like to do is for Bermuda events, I just want to get, first of all, I'll show you what stats look without any like removing any golfers. Your best overall Bermuda golfer is Matt Kuchar. 49 events, 26.67 is his average finishing position. He owns this golf course, basically. 30% clip of finding the top 10. He's a pretty safe play. Didn't do the greatest last week, but that's totally fine because you also want a 1-2. And again, we'll talk about that. Right next to him is Webb Simpson. So again, he's you know, there's 9 categories that he's a top 10 in. And is that all of them actually? I didn't even count how many I had. I have 11 categories. So he is top 10 in 9 of the 11 categories. That's pretty good. And he's top 3 in all the grass stats. So if we're talking about grass stats now, you know, you only have a few golfers: Webb Simpson, Justin Thomas, Sung Jae-im, and Patrick Reed. They are in the top 10 of each of these stats right here. I don't include golfers like Morikawa because he only has 3 events under his belt. He's getting really close. Like I would consider 4 events to be a good staple of figuring out or including in grass stats or even like swing stats. 4 events, you know, that's a max of 16 rounds of golf. That's pretty good. Pretty good to determine if they're good at, you know, like a particular grass golf course. But I did not include Colin Morikawa. I just want you guys to know that because he's probably top 3 or top 10 in these stats as well. I didn't include him because he didn't have enough events under his belt. And last week he finished inside the top 10. There are only 34 golfers, so it's not as impressive to find the top 10. Still finding the top 10, but you know, not that impressive. But anyways, you've got a bunch of good golfers. No one's really low priced. Not until you get down to Zach Johnson, Shugo Imahira, Emiliano Grillo, and Keith Mitchell. Like that's your value, your low tier plays, basically. And really, out of them, I like ZJ, Grillo, and Mitchell. Imahira, 0% times inside the top 10. So something to think about. We have birdie percentage here, or not birdie, sorry, top 10 Bermuda percentage. Will Gordon, excuse me. I don't know what the heck that is. Gordon has only golfed in 2 events. One of them, he finished inside the top 10. The other one has to have been a missed cut. To have an average of 47.5. He had to have top 10. He probably top 10 at the Bermuda Championship down in the Bahamas. I believe that's where that was. And then the other one must have been a bigger tournament where he didn't do the greatest. Actually, I guess if we wanted to, I can go ahead and go down to where Will Gordon is. 6,100. Here he is. Okay. So he finished 10th. And his other tournament must have been somewhere else because I don't think Mayakoba was Bermuda. I think that was CPAS Palom. I'm pretty sure that wasn't. I'm not going to go into it right now, but to get 47.5, it's not going to be 10 and 50. So I believe he missed a cut somewhere. But anyways, you've got, you know, again, I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of this so you guys don't even see those golfers. But, you know, just remember Morikawa was up there as well. And he's a play that I like, but I'm not going to include him. We have JT at the top, 39% clip of finding the top 10. It's pretty solid. With his price tag at 12,000, you definitely want him in the top 3. And, you know, getting 4th, 5th, or 6th still could be beneficial, especially if he's a high scoring golfer between 4th and 6th place. I say that because you could be a low scoring guy. And what I mean by that is maybe you bogey one hole around, so you don't get the bogey free bonus. And you get 5 birdies around, so you're 4 under. You're gonna finish 16 under, which if we go to the results from each year, 16 under is gonna get you somewhere inside the top 10, and it could get you 6th place. It could get you 2nd place, 3rd place. Like it can get you in that top 3, top 5, and really those 5 birdies will be good. But if you're not stringing off birdies in a row, 3 birdies in a row, it's not going to look that great. You're not going to be a high scoring top 5 player. Unlike the guy who gets an eagle, 6 birdies, 3 bogeys, and a double. Like that guy is going to score many more points than if he finishes inside the top 5 than, you know, a steady Eddie, basically. So anyways, I like Justin Thomas getting to be a top 3 play. And if he is a top 5 play, I think he's a high scoring top 5. So again, Justin Thomas, my favorite golfer this week. I'm going to play a lot of him. Webb Simpson, again up top. Sungjae Im. Kevin Kisner, who was very disappointing last week, still has a high track record at Bermuda golf courses. Matt Kuchar, same with him. Their 2020 campaign right now doesn't look the greatest, so I'm not really sure what to make of that. I might limit my exposure, but I do like the idea of playing both of those guys. Patrick Reed is a high scoring top 5 play. I'm not sure if I really like him. He does fit the mold when it comes to roster construction. When you'll see that when we get to it. Obviously got 2nd place last week, 29% clip of getting top 10. Overall, Bermuda, not the greatest, but it's not bad. He's definitely top 20 to 40. Oh, I shouldn't say that. I don't do that with this color coding. But definitely top half of the overall Bermuda scores. I really like Mark Leishman. He is a 1-1, and you'll see we want to play at least one of those in all of our lineups. He's probably the top 1-1. You could also make the argument that Sungjae is. We'll see when we get there. Anyways, that's pretty much that for the top 10 Bermuda stats. Now, the 2020 Bermuda finishes. Look, we have basically, I think, 3 or 4 events under our belt now. Actually, I think it's 3. In fact, I'm just going to pull up the Bermuda stats. Sometime in the future, I will be selling these spreadsheets. But, yeah, we have had 4 events. So, the Shell Houston Open, which is just called the Houston Open, the Sanderson Farms Classic, and the RSM Classic. So, those 4 tournaments are the tournaments that we've played that are Bermuda this year. JT's only played in one of them. He won. Webb Simpson only played in one of them. 2nd. Sungjae, again, 2nd. So not a lot of tournaments for a lot of these guys in 2020. I'm not going to really weigh this that much. It's more recent bias than anything, but I did want to mention that and let you guys know. Of course, now we get Morikawa with last week's finish of 7th place. It could be a confidence boost for him. Okay, so now let's go ahead, get into the lineup construction. I'm really excited for lineup construction. this is actually an easier lineup construction than most weeks. And I'm going to explain why. So if we go back to if we go to the notes page, this is where I keep my last week bucket scores. I keep track of how many golfers in this range finish inside the top 5. So if they finished inside the top 20 in the prior year's tournament, they would fall under this bucket. I'm sorry. This is for the top 5 for that year. And here's a good example. If I come here and I look, top 5 places, I go to the last week score, the last week bucket, I see one golfer, or I see 3 golfers who finish inside the top 20 within the top 5. If you get what, my bad. Let me put it a different way. For last year, actually any of these last year stats depend on the finishing position of that year. So here we go. Forget I just said what I just said. This is a clear way to explain this. So these golfers who finished 5th place, if we look at the last year finish and the last week finish, you can see there's a golfer who finished top 20. So we count that as 1. So when we go back to here, I have one golfer who finished inside the top 20 the year before. So this number right here reflects a golfer who finished inside the top 20 in 2018 and so forth. So there were 2 golfers who finished inside the top 5 in 2018 who finished inside the top 20 in 2017. And that's how that goes. Same applies for the last week score. So this is the top 5 table, and we have the top 10 table, which I do my scoring off of. So this is where the last week and last year buckets are from this range. So I do a count over here to get a ranking, and then that ranking, this would be considered a last year bucket 1 golfer. So you'll see LY1. The last week ones are the golfers who did not play the week before. Again, if we go into 2019 recent form, we have 6 golfers who finished inside the top 5. 3 of them didn't play the week before. Again, if I go to 2019, that was top 5, sorry. So you'll see that golfers who did not play the week before. Wonder if I have this mixed up, because that's not right. Did I count that wrong? So it should be 3 and 3. All right. Well, let's just make that change right now. Do we have that for? Should equal 6, right? 5. Oh boy. 2 basic, 2 again. Okay. It does change things, but it doesn't. If I were to come down here, I know these scores are correct. It doesn't really change anything for these scores. So I apologize for that. The first example I show is incorrect, or it was incorrect, but go ahead and change that. I'm still keeping the rankings the same, because again, in the top 10, we have more golfers who fill in these ranges, and then those ranges just give me a higher count total, far and above the 1 through 20 range, and the did not play are your highest. So that is definitely the ones that I'm going to pinpoint. So this would indicate your last year bucket 1 score and your last year bucket 2 score. The other thing I do is I go every single year and compare these and provide that score. And I'll just show you. So we have all these bucket scores here. They represent these numbers. Those numbers represent these finishes. And then I get the ranking score. With that ranking score, I go ahead, look at the combinations, every single year and see if I can find anything that gives me an edge when it comes to constructing lineups. So your 2-2 means golfers who, if we look at the top 10 table here, we're looking for a last year bucket 2 and a last week bucket 2. So your last year bucket 2 means they did not play the year before. Your last week bucket 2 score means they got top 20 in last week's tournament, the Tournament of Champions. If we go and look in 2020, you're going to see a lot of the golfers here. Like we're looking for a golfer who did not play. So Colin Morikawa, who did not play the year before and has a top 20 finish. He would be considered a last year bucket 2, last week bucket 2 golfer, or a 2-2 as I would just call him. I just call him a 2-2. So if I go to the the DK page and we go ahead and sort by salary, if we find Morikawa, there he is. He is a 2-2. And again, I go through and I look at every single year to see any trend that I can find. And basically, what I found is in the top 5, you will find a 1-1 every single year. So that is my first rule in constructing lineups. You want to find a 1-1. That is 100%. Now, this covers 6 years of tournaments. This will be the 7th year, which means you might find a 1-1 inside the top 5 or top 10. You might not. So you could think you can come up with a strategy that says, I don't believe in this, or I don't think it's going to happen. I'm playing 0% of 1-1s. If they don't make the top 5 or top 10 this year, then you were 100% successful in fading them. However, if there is a 1-1 that finishes inside the top 10 and you decide not to play, that means there was 100% chance there was a 1-1 in the top 10. You understand what I'm getting at? Now, what I like to do is, what would the percentages look like if a 1-1 doesn't make the top 10? Well, that would mean throughout all of these years, there would have been an 85% chance, or there was an 85% clip that a 1-1 finished inside the top 10. So that's my bare minimum. When we go to make lineups, if I were to go to the lineup page here and look at a 1-1, so Mark Leishman, I made 50 lineups. So if I go down here and mark 50 right there with, well, Mark Leishman, I would want 85% of my lineups to be to have a 1-1 in them. So if I go ahead, pull up the calculator here, and we go ahead and punch in 50 times 0.85, I'm going to want to play a 1-1 in 42 of my 50 lineups. So that's how I construct lineups. And I don't mind doing that. Now, I actually have these over here. Here are all your 1-1s. And I have pick one 100%. Now, that's because so far there's been 100% of 1-1s inside the top 10 of the Sony, of every leaderboard of the Sony Championship dating back to 2013. What I like to do is of the 42 lineups. Sorry, I'm going to bring up the calculator again. I should just kept it out. Now, if you guys have lineup generators, good for you. You guys can do all your weight, distribution that way. What I'm going to do is, okay, out of 42, I want to play Sung Jae in 30% of my lineups. So just like what I had just done to figure out how many lineups that I want to play a 1-1 in, I'm going to do that for Sung Jae when it comes to ownership. So 0.3 gets me 12.6. Well, I can round up or I can round down, depending on what you want to do. I want to play Sung Jae in 13 of my lineups. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go down here. I'm going to use the count function, which you can't see because my head's in the way, or my body's in the way, but it's down here. I'm at 11. There we go, 13. Mark Leishman, let's go ahead and clear this out and go 42 times 0.25. I want to play him in 25% of my lineups. 10.5. I don't want to play him in 11. I'm going to play him in 10. So again, I'm going to go ahead and scroll down. Now, if we recall, I have one at the bottom. I'm going to leave that at the bottom. So here's 9 lineups with him in it. There's the 10th one down here at the bottom. And so I'm going to do that going throughout all of this until I get to my 42. So Charles Howell's the next one. I don't really care about how many I play Charles Howell in. I'm just going to eyeball it. We'll put him in 7 lineups. Totally fine. Brant Snedeker, we're going to do the same thing. Play him in 7 lineups. Okay. So how many do we have currently? This is pretty close to 42. That's 36. This is 37. So we have a couple more ones. How about we do this? We just include everyone once. So 36 plus 5, and say I like Pat Kazire one more time. So there you go. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of Mark Leishman from down here. So there's, that's a count of 43. I don't know how to count. So let's get rid of that last Kazire one. Okay. So this means there's 8. Yep, there are 8. So I have 42 here. That's 85% of 50. I'm going to go ahead and randomize this range. So now I don't have, a bunch of names back to back. I'm going to leave that right there. This is how we're going to do these lineups. I should say, at the most simplest form, this is how I do lineups. Just like this. No lie. This gives me some randomization, because then the next thing that I'm going to look at is I'm going to go ahead and look at what the next criteria is. So what's the next thing that jumps off to me? A lot of the times I just go and I eyeball this. Like, I don't even know. I don't have a query that's going to pull any of this information. I'm just going to highlight what I see. It's like, oh, wow, I see a bunch of 2-2s, but I don't see them in 2015, 2014. So 4 out of 6 years, we have a 2-2 in. What does that mean? That means 66% of the time we found a last year 2, last week 2 inside, the top 5, really. Inside the top 10 also. You see one more 2-2 down here, and that's going to be it. But with that being said, 66%, again, if this year we don't find one there, that means that drops down the 66 to 57%. But if we do find one, it bumps it up to 71. So when we go back to the lineup construction page, here you go. Here's your 2-2s. So it says somewhere between 57% and 71%. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and say there's going to be 71%. And in fact, if I think there's going to be a 1-1 again, I can go ahead and put 100% of lineups. I think 42 out of 50, leaving out 8, totally fine. I don't even think there's anything bad with that. But then when we come here and we look at, 57 to 71%, if I go 71%, so 50 times 0.71, 35.5, let's just say, let's put 36 since we're so high. So we'll do 36 lineups that have a 2-2 in them. And of that 36, let's go ahead and say Morikawa's going to be in 30% of those lineups. That's 10.8. So we're going to put him in 11. And again, it doesn't matter who you pair. So obviously putting Sung Jae and Colin kind of lowers your score or lowers your average salary remaining. Not a big deal. But I'm going to put them in 11 lineups. That's 9, 10, 11. Perfect. We're going to go down to Joaquin Niemann. I'm going to put him in 30% of my lineups also. So I'm going to put him in 11 as well. Lonto Griffin, I really like. Let's go ahead and put him in. I mean, we gotta think about 36. So 11, 11, 22. This is 30. So now I've got 6 spots. You know what? I'm going to put them in 2 more. So now I have 4 spots left to put Palmer and Lashley in. So I'll put them twice. So basically what I'm going to do is go down to the 51, which is really line 50. Scroll up and randomize this range as well. And that way, now I just get a whole mix of things. We do have a 2-2, not with a 1-1. That's fine. You know, this gives me my randomization. So as you can see, like, I'm slowly and easily creating lineups. Again, I'm putting these into buckets. Now look at how small these buckets are. Your last year 1, last week 1. There are a total of 9 golfers. Of those 9 golfers, who do you really want to play? You know, like, if you really like Brandt Snedeker, then hey, that's awesome. More, you know, like, it shows you want to play Brandt Snedeker. So now, instead of being like, I'm going to play him in 20% of my lineups, you see this, gives you a bit more confidence. Now you can play him in 80% of your lineups and feel comfortable about it. Maybe you don't feel comfortable about it, but it boosts it still. You know, you get 50%. If Snedeker finishes inside the top 5, you've already increased your what am I trying to say? You've already increased your winnability, basically. You're going to make more money because he is in your lineup more, and this process is going to get you on Brandt Snedeker more. And it same goes with any of these golfers that are in these buckets. Now, this one, the last year 2, last week 2, like, honestly, I do believe you have somewhere between a 57 and 71% chance to actually find any one of these golfers inside the top 10. And actually, really, inside the top 5. So which one is it going to be? Which one do you feel more comfortable playing? And we did see one of those lineups, or I should say one of the years had 2 2-2s. Now, the other one was farther down, so it was like 9th or 10th place. But still, you could have found another 2-2 at least once. Now, the same thing is going to apply for this 1-2 position. But if we go back to the notes page and highlight all of the 1-2s, you see one there, one there, one here. So we're going to see a bunch of them now as we go through this. Shows 66%, so I have to find a 1-2 somewhere else. Where is it? Am I blind? Very interesting. So really it's 50%? Okay, it was 2-1 is what that was the next one on my list. Okay, so there is only a 50% find rate of getting a 1-2. So if I go back to this pick here, again, if we don't find a 1-2 in the top 5 or top 10, it's going to lower that percentage of finding a 1-2 from 50% to 42%. But if we do find one, it's going to go up to 57%. It depends. The players that are in here, Justin Thomas, Patrick Reed, Matt Kuchar, in my opinion, boost this up to 57%, like, no matter what, in my opinion. Again, you make that argument. Well, if you do think one of these golfers is going to be, you know, inside the top 10, why not play 100% of 1-1s or 1-2s? Well, the thing is, if it's not one of the golfers and you're like, okay, I'm going to play 3 of them in 100% of my lineups, that means at least 2 of your golfers, how many times you put them in, aren't going to be inside the top 10, which is going to sink your lineup, basically, especially for how expensive Kuchar, Thomas, and Patrick Reed are. So I like Justin Thomas quite a bit. I'm going to play him in 40% of my lineups. But 40% of 50... Let's go 57%. Oh, I'm sorry. 50 times 0.57. 28.5. I'm going to go ahead and give that 29. So out of 29 lineups, you just do it like this. I want to play JT in... Man, I'm going to go 50. I'm going to do 50%. So 14 lineups. And that's not 50%, but it's going to be for this one. So 14 lineups are going to have Justin Thomas in it. So I'll go ahead, click and drag until I find 14 on the count. Awesome. So now I have 15 more lineups to come up with the other guys. I'm going to go ahead and play Reed. I don't really like him that much, but I'm going to play him in 5 lineups. So now we go from 14 to 19. Kuchar, I'm going to go ahead and play in like 6 or 7. We'll go with 6. Ooh. Yeah, okay, never mind. This is what we're going to do. We're going to put Kuchar one more up and get rid of the bottom 2. Because I really like Munoz. So I'm going to play Munoz in those 5 lineups. So that gets me 28. So one more. I do want to play both of these guys, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of one more Munoz. But what I'm going to do is we're going to create 4 columns because I only have 4 rules that you have to play a last year 1, last week 1, a last year 2, last week 2, a last year 1, last week 2, and a last year 2, last week 1. I know I went through that fast. But basically, you're playing a 1-1, a 2-2, a 1-2, or a 2-1. Not a or a 2-1, and a 2-1. Because you're going to see that in just about all of the each of the years. I don't know how to say that, but basically, so you have a 2-2, you have a 1-1, you have a 2-1. The only thing we're missing is a 1-2. So it doesn't happen every single year that they're all in there, which means that randomization I'm doing hopefully gets you on certain things where they don't all show up at the same time. And in fact, you already saw that once. I'm going to go ahead and randomize this. So now you can see these 2 don't go with Corey. We only have 1 that goes with JT. And if we, fill out column 4 here, we might not see excuse me, we might not see all 4. And again, so we have 3 here, we might see a blank there. You just never know. We only see 1 here. We have blanks here. I don't know how I feel about that, so maybe I go ahead and rearrange this. So go back to a randomized sort and see if it covers up a lot of the holes, and it does. We have 1 there, and that's it. So it makes me feel better. I like that better. So we're gonna just leave it as is. One other thing that I'm gonna do is, because I like Sebastian Munoz so much, I'm gonna pair him up with JT in column 6 a couple times, because I really like Sebastian, and pairing him up with JT I really like. I'll put him with the Kuchar, but that's probably gonna be it. Like, I actually like this right there. 6,500, maybe not so much, but we'll see what we can do to add. I mean, there we go. Ooh. Yeah, I don't know if I want to put Scott Harrington there, since he's a 2-1. So 2-2, 2-1, 1-2, 1-1. So you see all 4 of them there. I mean, you can see multiples. A 2-1, a 2-2, a 1-1. You don't see a 1-2, but you see a bunch of 1-1s. A 2-2, a 1-1, a 2-1, and no 1-2 yet again. So really the 1-2s are kind of bringing it down. You're not going to see a 1-2 most of the years. And in fact, you only see in 2018, not in 2019, not in 2017, not in 2016. Sure, 2015, we see all of them yet again. A 1-2, 1-2, 1-1. So we don't see the other 2 in 2014. We don't see a 2-2, and we don't see a... Is it just a 2-2? Oh, we don't see a 2-1. Actually, in 2014, there was a bunch of people that tied for 8th place. So I'm sure, yeah. I believe top 20 was a 2. Not playing the year before was a 2. So you have a 2-2. Not playing the year before, or is this a 1-2? Was that a 1-2? I can't remember. So a 1, last year 1 is 1-20 last year. Okay, so a 2 is a did not play, and then last week a 2 is top 20. Okay. So we go back to 2014. These guys are last week 2s. This would be a last year 2. This would be a last year 1. So you have a 1-2, you have a 2-2. Which one was that again? Was that a 1-1? Did not play and did not play. So it's a 2-1. Okay. Okay. So a top 20 is a 1-2. Got it. I don't know why I can't keep the stuff straight. So top 20, that's a 1-2. This would be a 1-1. Yep. Okay. And this would be a 2-1. Got it. Perfect. So you would have had them also in 2014. Okay. So we would have had all of them here. We had all of them where? So 2018. 1, 2, 1, 2, 2. Yeah. So only in 2 of those years, which is 33%, did we find all of them yet again. So let's go ahead and fill out our 2-1s. So the 2-1s, there's a 66% clip of finding them. But again, if they don't make it, if we don't see one, we have 57%, and if we do see it, 71%. Because this is so large, this range, I can almost guarantee we're going to see a 2-1 inside the top 10. And Webb Simpson is actually at the top of that list. So let's go ahead and say 71%. I already forgot the numbers. So if we go 50 times 0.71, we're going to get what? 20 or 35.5. Let's give that 36. So out of 36 lineups, let's put Webb in 25%. Sure. That's a solid 9. So this would be column 4. And I'm going to put them in 9 lineups. And as I go through all the rest of them, I don't really care about any of them. What I would say this: go through these golfers and X out the ones you don't want to play. I know I want to play Norin. I know I want to play Sumberger. So what I'm going to do is put Norin in like 4 lineups because I like him that much. Xinjun Zhang, I'm going to put in 3 lineups. I'll put him in 4. I do like Doc Redman, so let's go ahead and put him in 3. I like Scott Harrington. I'll put him in 4. Luke List, I like. I mean, there's a lot of people. It looks like I like quite a bit. Now, if we went and looked at the notes page here, how many times do we see a 2-1? I mean, you see a bunch there, a bunch there. Just one there. Just one there. Quite a few here. Quite a few here. So it looks hit or miss. For the last 5 years, we've seen at least one. We've only seen one twice. Like only one combination like that twice. Otherwise, we see at least 4. So in 50% of these lineups that we're putting these in, I would say, let's go through it really quick and I'll show you what I plan to do. So we wanted 36 lineups. We're almost there. Where to put Scott Harrington? Yep. I like Justin Hadley. Let's go ahead and put him in a few. I really don't like anyone at the bottom here at all. So like that's what I'm saying is we could go ahead. Not gonna play him, not gonna play him or him. Might play some Graham Dillette. We'll go ahead and delete all of those guys. Probably not gonna play him or Rain. And delete those like that, so. I really don't know who some of these Japanese players are, so I'm not going to play any of them. I do like Hagee, or I mean, I used to like Hagee, but he's just not playing at all very well. Go ahead and put Hubbard here a couple times. I do like Hubbard. I don't know if I have him anywhere else. No. So where are we? We're at 35. I have room for 2 more. Let's go ahead and put Shelton. We already put, yeah, we did put this. Shelton and Matt Every, since I did already like it. So there we go. We got our 36 lineups there. Go ahead and randomize this. So this should give us kind of a pretty decent, I'm gonna go ahead and randomize it again. Works for me. This should give us kind of a good nuclei of golfers. We can go in here and now with all these empty spaces, we could add 1 more golfer in one of these ranges if we wanted to. We did see a bunch of 1-1s, so I could fill this all up with 1-1s. I could go to the tee times page of all of this and try to find guys who are golfing together. So if I went to tee times and just looked at all the guys that I have starred, what I have done actually is I put these numbers next to each other. So this 4 is playing with another 4. So Sung Jae and Doc Redman are playing together. So I could find a Doc Redman and hopefully, okay, we already paired him up. And do that a couple times because I am a believer pairing golfers up is a good thing. One other thing that I should have mentioned, it's probably easier to get 3 birdies in a row if you start on hole 1. And every golf, okay, if you found that one round of golf was going to be windier than the other, I would target the less windy round and hammer the golfers who are going to start on hole 1. Because holes 8 through 12, I believe, are some of the easiest golf holes on the course. Easy to get your birdie streak there. That's basically why I bring it up. So I would say definitely think about doing that. So we can always look to see who starts on hole 1 for Thursday's tee time, and then their tee time that they're playing, and then try to match them up with someone. So like JT and Kuchar, they're playing 540. I think Brennan Todd is also with them. So I mean, you could pair them up together if you wanted to, if you felt comfortable doing it. Brennan Todd's a 2-3. I don't see a 2-3 at all in any of this. So I'm not going to play 2-3. He could be the first one, and it will increase the percentage to like 12% over the last 7 years, or 14%, whatever it is. I'm not playing a 2-3. I'm probably not playing many last week 3s, which are golfers who finished 20th to 40th place in the tournament of champions. One other thing I want to point out when you're making lineups, look at the recent form tabs here. Look how many guys have course history. This one, there are 0 golfers who have 0 course history. You have 1 inside the top 10 that has 0 course history. In 2019, you had 2 technically that had 0 course history. And then when we get down here, of course, I start all of my data storage. It starts from 2013 and goes forward. So now as we get closer to 2013, we're going to see less and less, but you still see 2 golfers who did not have course history show up. Now the course history doesn't matter what kind of course history, it just means they've golfed here before. And I think that is important. And then now we're getting really close to 2013, 2015, still showing inside the top 10, only 4 golfers did not have course history. The rest of them did. And that's a top 12, actually. It's the top 6, but 12 golfers fell in the top 6. And then 2014, if you just look at the last year scores, like look how many golfers finished inside the top 10 that had last year's score, meaning they had course history. Course history matters. Playing here the year before matters to some extent. And their finishing positions matter. So that's why I've kept track of that here. Whether they have played or they haven't played. And then combining that with what they did last week, if they did play last week or if they didn't. So I'm not going to play any threes. I could probably go through all of these and see how many threes are there. Not a lot. You have 9 golfers who are last week threes. Now, 2 of those tournaments you did see a last year 3 finish inside the top 10. Coincidentally, there were last year 4s to go with last week 3s. You don't really see that. I'm not playing any of these. And if one of them finishes inside the top 10, good for them. If they finish inside the top 3, I'll probably kick myself. But other than that, I will be probably steering clear mostly of Ches Reavie and Brendan Todd. Maybe I'll play some Todd since he's playing with JT. And I think if my mindset is JT is going to do so well, I'm going to want to play as much Brendan Todd as possible. So that's kind of where my mindset goes. Yeah, I'm not going to play any threes. But what you guys can do, so we talked a lot about 1s and 2s for the last year bucket scores. You can play any of these guys. So I can fill these in with the rest of my lineup. So if I like Abraham Answer and I go to the lineup construction page, this column 5 here and column 6 really is put in whoever you want. And in fact, you can put in whoever you want in any of this white space, which I plan to do. Other than that, yeah, I don't have anything to add really. So I appreciate you guys being here for an hour and 11 minutes. I should have said something. Here's a good find. Webb Simpson in this lineup puts us to 41,000. We're just gonna go ahead and move him somewhere where it would make sense. Let's go right there. So that's the other thing we're gonna have to look at when we go through what all this randomized stuff is. We're gonna have to manufacture some of these lineups because you just can't fit all of these golfers like that. Even if I wanted right there, ooh, 61, that ain't gonna happen. Or I can cut it out. 85, can't do it there. You can always substitute. You don't have to find an open spot. So let's go ahead and replace Robbie Shelton. Yeah, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put Robbie Shelton where Webb Simpson was. There we go. Perfect. Again, I'll go through this and clean up a lot of these that are just not doable. Can't do it here, obviously, for obvious reasons. And like I can just change Morikawa to go there and then figure out who to put here. It's as simple as that. This is just to kind of randomize your lineups so you're not, you know, basically being biased when you create your lineups. I'm just finding places that make an average salary remaining doable. I don't want, you know, like I don't want to be like I want to put Patrick Reed with Justin Thomas all the time. I'm gonna do that every single time. I don't care to do that. I don't think that's a good way to do it. If you think any of these, so like column 5 and 6 here can be any of these buckets. You can add any of these buckets. In fact, you know, the 1-2s here shows pick 1 to 2 of them. So JT with Kuchar, I mean, they play together, so I'm gonna go ahead and just mark that as 6 and 6. They play together, so like wherever we saw Justin Thomas, we can put Kuchar as long as it's not too expensive. So that works. Putting him with Sebastian Munoz and Justin Thomas, that works for me. Any other times we see Kuchar or JT, we can always pair them up together. As long as the salary allows us to. But anyways, I'll go through and I'll continue to do this. I just wanted to show you here. I'll do this since we have all of these. I will just copy, throw them right there. And then we can figure out how to rearrange these so we have salary remaining. But I mean, that's basically what it's going to look like. I'm just going to go ahead and throw this, you know, all over the place to see, just so you guys can see what it might look like, you know, color coded wise. So I can do that with all of these very simply. And that's what I intend to do once I get done with this video and construct my lineup. So you have a little bit of insight as to how I'm creating these lineups. I mean, you have a lot of insight, but you have the player pools right here. I mean, how awesome is it to pick one golfer out of these 5? Just thinking to yourself, I need to put them in 70% of my lineups. So you have 10 lineups. Maybe you just like Morikawa that much. I'm going to put him in 7 of my lineups. Maybe you have a little doubt. I'll put him in 6 of my lineups and put Joaquin in one of them. Or you go even. I'm going to put Morikawa in 3, Joaquin in 2, and Lanto in 2. You know, or maybe Palmer just rounds out your lineups. Like, you can do whatever you want. I think it's awesome that there is this pick 5. You know, pick one golfer out of these 5. Pick one golfer out of these 6. Pick one golfer out of this 9. Like, that just it narrows your pool so much. And it's fun to be like, okay, column 1 is my 1-1s here. Column 2 is my 2-2s. Column 3 is my 1-2s. Column 4 is my 2-1s. Like, that's, it's so much easier in my opinion to do it this way. And hopefully, you know, you guys find it attractive as well, because it's fun. I enjoy making lineups this way. And it's not going to take me that much longer to fill in all this space, because I only have so much salary in order to do that. So I'll go through the 2 spreadsheets, find my price points. Like, ooh, I like Zach Johnson. I have 7,400 right here. Let's go ahead and put Zach Johnson right there. I mean, you don't have to do it by that, and we don't have to like filter out everything. We can just go down price point wise and be like, you know what? I don't have any Sung Kang. I want to put him in my lineups. I have no Scott Piercy. Let's go ahead and fill him in here. It boosts our salary left. I like Russell Henley. And if we go back to the notes page, look how colorful this is. You've got 5s, 6s, you've got 4s, again 4s, 3s, 5s, 3s, 4s, and 3s. You can, I just have the 4 rules. Past that, it just opens up whoever you want. And a little bit of it restricts you, so you can't just go crazy. Like, the whole player pool isn't available to you. Just a little bit, you know. Again, we go here and we look at what we have left. 6,300 for 3 places. Not the greatest. If we look at, you know, oh shoot, I didn't delete this with it. I'm sure some of you guys were like, what are you doing? I'll figure that out later. But yeah, you know, we can come down here, find Matt Every. You know, we like Matt Every, so 6,300. It looks like he was around 6,300. Anyways, you guys get the gist. I'm not going to keep you any longer. It's been an hour, 18 minutes. I think that's totally fine. I was really excited about this video. I am, again, sorry it's coming out so late, but I hope this has provided you like a good deal of confidence in constructing lineups, and at least another way to do lineups. So with that, I bid you adieu. Thank you for watching. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you in the review video, which I'll hope to get out Sunday night. If not, I'll get it out Monday. All right, see you guys.